The Electoral Commission has expressed concern at the level of violence ahead of the 3rd of August local government polls. Now, this emerged at a media briefing where the IEC announced the list of ward candidates contesting the local government elections.
If there are events and processes that disrupt the electoral processes, we would be concerned as the Electoral Commission, but would also expect our partners, particularly the political parties, to do their best to make sure that the situation is contained and arrested, and that we are able to have these elections within an environment conducive to free and fair elections. So the violent protests that erupted in Tshwane were of great concern to us as a commission, and we will continue to monitor the situation and have conversation with the political parties concerned to make sure that those kind of issues are dealt with, and we don't have those kind of challenges spilling into our electoral processes.
Our political reporter Tumelo Motlaude is there, and he now joins us live from the election house where the IEC just announced the finalized candidates list of who will be contesting the 2016 municipal elections. Tumelo, a very good afternoon to you. What transpired at the briefing today?
Well, good afternoon to you too, Alicia. Well, basically, the main issue that the IEC wanted to communicate is that all in all, 200 parties, 61,000 candidates are to contest the 2016 municipal elections. But we do know, of course, that there are a few hiccups. One of the major being the issue of the court challenge by the Tlokwe municipality. Now, let's get more from that. Mr. Terry, thank you very much for joining us here on SABC News. Firstly, give us an update. What is the latest as far as the whole Tlokwe municipality and the court challenge go?
You may be aware that the Constitutional Court has already finalized this matter, and we were ordered by the Constitutional Court to ensure that by the time we go to the elections, the voters' roll in Tlokwe has been dealt with and all the defects have been rectified. And we are currently busy with that particular process. The past weekend, we opened all our registration stations to make sure that people whose addresses we do not have are able to come and correct their details. And we are satisfied that the process thus far is proceeding, and we will be able to see after this whether we've been able to meet our targets.
Right, and in terms of the process itself, once you close shop, can you let us know how long the process will run to? Because obviously we know that it is coming close to the August local municipal elections deadline. And once that deadline's passed, what then in terms of any other queries, if there may be?
Well, the electoral process has got what we call the election timetable. Election timetable has got various milestones that have got to be achieved by a particular date before the elections. So all these processes are properly timelined, and in relation to Tlokwe, due to the fact that we were ordered by the court to deal with the defects identified within the voters' roll, we're dealing with that, and we've given until the 6th of July to have finalized everything in Tlokwe. So after the 6th, there is absolutely nothing we can do in relation to the voters' roll. The elections have got to take place. We've got to now deal with the special votes, and we've got to make sure that Tlokwe is also in line with all other parts of our country in relation to other milestones that are there within the timetable.
Mr. Tselane, also some bad news, if I may, that was announced for the NFP. What is the announcement in terms of the NFP status? Will they make it onto the voters' roll, or will they be able to contest the upcoming municipal elections?
Unfortunately, the National Freedom Party was not able to meet our deadlines in relation to the submission of the candidate list. And as a result of that, we are not able, and we're not empowered in law to accommodate them in the electoral processes. We have had conversations with them. They understand the limitations that we have as a commission, and therefore the only route available to them is the electoral court, and they have approached the electoral court now, and we'll hear what the electoral court has got to say in relation to this issue. And whatever the court says, we will implement from our side as the Electoral Commission.
And finally, these issues, how do they impact on the IEC's call to the electoral role players, the various parties contesting the elections, those perhaps that also are going to be left out should the court processes deem it that way, in terms of the call for calm, for stability, and for all parties to basically engage in the electoral process and allow for free and fair elections? Are you concerned?
Of course, we are concerned if any part of our country is experiencing pockets of instability. And that's why we've been urging the political parties that even though the responsibility to ensure free and fair election is our responsibility, it is not solely our responsibility as Electoral Commission. Our partners, the political parties, have got a major responsibility to make sure that environment within which these elections take place is conducive for free and fair elections. And therefore, we want to urge them and their supporters to make sure that they assist us in terms of the creation of environment conducive to free and fair elections.
Very quickly, in terms of the provincial outlook, which are the provinces which are the top performers and the ones with which are the lowest performers, maybe the top and the lowest in terms of the voter turnout?
I can't talk about voter turnout now before the elections. However, depending on what the yardstick you are using, for these elections, it shall appear that Limpopo is our highest performer in terms of the number of women who are contesting the elections, with KwaZulu-Natal having the least number of women participating in the election. So it depends really what we are looking at in terms of participation in the electoral process. But we are satisfied thus far. Our people have heeded the call. We are ready. We are getting ready for the elections. We've got now the list finalized, and we are proceeding accordingly.
All right. Thank you very much. That's where we're going to have to leave it. Well, thanks. That was basically the IEC's telling us the latest in terms of the various sticking points when it comes to the court challenges. Of course, we've got the NFP also now being announced that it will not be included on the voters' roll for the various issues that were mentioned right now. And in terms of the IEC's outlook, they want and are calling for a free and a fair elections. So it's all systems go.
Thank you so much for that. That is Dumalo Motlhaudi, live to us from the Election House in Centurion. He was joined by IEC Deputy Chairperson, Mr. Teritse.